will control the vertical.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your host Mark. Today I'm talking about a series which is borderline our usual sort of discussion space, but I think it's worth mentioning, and it is called a Fairy Tale Theatre. Now this was a sort of fantasy drama anthology show based on classic fairy tales in the main. Almost all the episodes are based on well-known fairy tales, stuff like Hans Christian Andersen, Brothers Grimm. There was one episode about the Pied Piper was based on a poem rather than a fairy tale. But, you know, Pied Piper, right? Pied Piper. Also called Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theatre. Sort of produced and sort of spearheaded by Shelley Duvall. She presented on it too. This was a award-winning series, and it started in September the 11th, 1982, went on till November the 14th, 1987, where it featured 25, I believe, episodes in all, over 6 seasons. So each season was quite short. For example, season 1 is only 2 episodes. The longer seasons are season 3 and 4, which have 7 episodes each, but often there's only 2, 3, you know, it's that kind of numbers. And it was an idea she came out with apparently while she was working on the set of Popeye, and which was in 1980 with Robin Williams, and she apparently asked her co-star for his opinion on the Frog Prince, which is the episode we're talking about tonight. But she wanted the opinion of the fairy tale and wondered what he thought of it as she was reading it while they were during production. Williams thought it was rather funny, and actually it became the first episode they did, and Robin Williams starred as the Frog Prince. Now this episode was written by Eric Idle of Monty Python, who also narrated, and apparently did appear in the Pied Piper episode as well. And as I say, it's award-winning. She went on to do some other sort of spin-off shows, one of which I've already covered, covered one called Tall Tales and Legends. But she also focused on other ones, Nightmare Classics, and which were based on more famous horror tales and bedtime stories. I am trying to track down some of the other ones, though I've already covered Tall Tales and Legends, so I won't be going back to that. But I'm trying to find examples or just trying to find those other ones. I have found them as physical media, but they're extortionate. I mean, hundreds of dollars, so I'm not going to be doing that. But if I can get them some other mechanism, I did look on YouTube, couldn't find them there. Now, the one we're talking about tonight, Fairy Tale Theatre, Frog Prince, is on YouTube. You can watch it in its entirety. Now, it stars, as I mentioned, Robin Williams. Terry Garr is the princess. She's marvellous, actually. René Auberjonois as a king. Now, he's most famous these days for being Odo in Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He's rather wonderful, but he's always kind of been around. I knew his face before he appeared in Deep Space Nine, for example. And It's quite fun. As it started, I thought it was going to be a bit childish and silly, and indeed it is childish and silly, but it's fairly fun, well written, well acted, with a lot of energy. Everyone's overacting as if it's a pantomime, a British pantomime, but these are good actors. They know what they're doing, they know what they're projecting, and it's quite deliberately intentional. This is meant for children. And as I say, it first aired on September 11th, 1982. I found this rather wonderful. I wasn't expecting much. It's 55 minutes. I thought, oh, this is going to be a bit hard to get through. But no, it was an absolute delight. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was rather wonderful. And to give you, they also get sort of quite famous directors, I believe, on some of this. I'm trying to find some examples, but I believe Tim Burton and Francis Ford Coppola did some of these episodes. But examples of people that starred in other episodes are Shelley Duvall herself does appear in some episodes. Hervé Villechaize is Rumpelstiltskin in a version of Rumpelstiltskin. That must be amazing. Ned Beatty, Jeff Bridges, wow. Angelica Houston, Mick Jagger is in one, Barbara Hershey, Beverly D'Angelo, Christopher Reeve. Wow, she got some names in this. I'm not going to go on, but basically almost every episode has a recognisable, at least 2 or 3 recognisable names, still recognisable now, not just contemporary for the time. So that's kind of really interesting. Goldilocks in particular looks real interesting to me. Tatum O'Neal is a Goldilocks and John Lithgow is her father, for example. That sounds like fun, right? So quite a good show. Quite enjoyed this. I think these ones are worth digging out and watching. I thoroughly recommend it. Had a charming. I mean, the special effects are basic, but Robin Williams is rather wonderful in this. He's clearly improvising some of it, but in a toned down way. He's not going full genie from Aladdin, for example, or something like that. He's doing his thing, but he's keeping it calm, and it is in the spirit of what's being presented. So that kind of adds to it, but the writing's good anyway. There's some corny jokes, there's some fun jokes, and, you know, I chuckled quite frequently throughout. I quite enjoyed the whole thing. It's recorded on video, so it looks like stuff recorded on video in the early 80s, but I kind of liked it. I'm quite impressed that Shelley Duvall got behind something like this. It's really nice to see things like this, and you know, she went on to other successes. As I said, she spun off other shows, and in fact, I should also mention they use quite a lot of famous artwork in the background, or at least inspired by those artists. And there's a rather wonderful sort of background imagery in this particular episode, and I suspect reading through it there's a lot of that in all the episodes, so that kind of makes it visually interesting too. I was quite surprised to find Eric Idle's voice come out when it started, but yeah, he wrote it, so why not, right? Why not? Yeah, a big recommend for me on this one. I think it's a rather wonderful production. Quite pleased. Wasn't expecting much. Delivered way more than I was expecting, and I can understand why it's award winning. It's kind of very fun and delightful. In fact, it follows a template that actually happened in the 50s, late 50s. Shirley Temple created a series called the Shirley Temple Storybook, which I believe were about fairy tales. There's not many fairy tale anthology series. Shirley Temple's one, this one, and the other Shelley Duvall ones are about it, frankly. So yeah, it's very cool. Apparently it was shown quite a lot on rotation because it was sold internationally, so I don't ever recall seeing it on British TV, but I think it's rather good. Right, I'm going to wind it up there, but before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to